Guess who's back? Welcome back to the FifeLife Australian Canary hobby. I'm back. This shady character and his 5 canaries are back on YouTube, back putting out a new episode. So guys, I hope you enjoy what I've got in store for you today. And I'm going to talk a little bit further on in the episode about what I've got planned moving forward, because I've got a couple of topics and a couple of videos that I'm going to put out. And it's going to be sort of what will lead through to the end of the year. Now, the first thing I want to say, and unless you're hiding under a rock, you would have heard the big news to come out of our hobby, and that is that my dear friend, mentor, and just the best bloke in the hobby that I've ever come across, and that's Matt, and the Canary Room is coming to an end. Now, obviously, like probably everyone, was a little bit sad to hear it, but I really think we should celebrate and really treasure these last couple of episodes that Matt's going to have coming our way. Matt, as a friend, and you are someone that has been in our living room, and my daughter has grown up in front of you and watched the episodes that you've put together. My wife Kath and I and Indy just wanted to say a very sincere thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for the hobby, for the entertainment that you have provided, and what will now be not just a library of amazing videos for people to follow and backtrack, but it's a legacy. And so, mate, you've done it all. There really, as you say, there is nothing more that you can do because you have really reached the highest of highs. And I think there is, a time to step away and say that's it. You've done enough. You've done more than enough. So thank you. The Canary Room, these last ones are going to be absolute belters. I know they will be, as always. So I can't wait to see them. We will remain friends forever. So that's another beautiful thing that we take away, is that it's what has brought us together from very opposite sides of the world. But mate, I treasure your friendship. I really do. So thank you. All right, moving on and moving forward. Today I'm going to be talking about the prime topic is going to be lighting, and talking about how I am currently using lights in my shed to help bring the birds into condition. And you can hear behind me, and I've got some footage I'm going to play for you a little bit later on to see the condition of the birds. And the cockbirds are singing their heads off. This guy's, my ears ringing because of it, but don't you slow down, buddy, because the birds are really charging into the breeding season here in the shed, and the hens that I've got out in the aviary. So we'll have a look at them later. So guys, grab a drink, put your feet up, whatever you're doing, take time to sit down and hopefully enjoy me being back in front of the camera and what I've got planned moving forward. Cheers, let's go. Alright, well, while I'm back in front of the camera and we're, rolling into an episode, I want to do a little shout out. I want to say a shout out to the Fife Club, the Australian Fife Club of New South Wales, my club. And guys, just wanted to give you guys a shout out and say congratulations. I sat in on one of the meetings that they recently had, and I was invited there by Andrew just to jump on the Zoom and sit down and put some faces to the names that I see on Facebook, and just be introduced to everyone, which was just lovely. So thank you very much, guys, for that. But I want to say a big congratulations to 40 new members to the club, and that's the growth of the club this year. Now, I'm not sure what other numbers other clubs are doing, but in a hobby that is struggling, and our backs are up against the wall as canary fanciers and bird keepers in general, to have 40 new members come into the club, some of which I have sponsored and brought into the club, but some of you who may not be exhibiting your birds and showing your birds like I don't, but what the big thing is we're keeping birds, and we're keeping an interest in the hobby, and we're hopefully breeding birds, which that's what it's all about, because if there is no birds, you can't show birds, and if you don't show birds, that's fine. At very least, enjoy the hobby and bird keeping as a whole. So well done to the club, fantastic numbers, and there's a big shout out to you guys and Andrew as the club president. Well done. Alright, so the topic of lighting, which you would have seen the lights that I just did a quick little pan across. I run LED lights here in the shed, and they are controlled via a timer that is mounted on my main switchboard for the house. I have an analog little dial, and you can just flick across 15-minute increments to adjust and change the lighting. Now, in the first 3 years that I kept canaries, I didn't have any lights at all, and it wasn't something that I was really well educated on, and it wasn't something that was a topic of conversation with other people when I got into the hobby. But then I started to really research, and after having a couple of seasons that were quite challenging, I realised that it's a variable that we can take control of. So variables in our hobby, weather, the daylight and the amount of light that our sheds get of natural light and things like that, they are things that can be out of our control if we don't manipulate them. And so I made the decision 2 years ago to really get good lighting in the shed. I had trialed a couple of things, and I played around with some fluorescent lights that I just wasn't very happy with, and they weren't set up properly with regards to the timer and things like that. So I probably wasted my time with that. I also did a little bit of research in addition to that in the light cycle and how it does affect animals in the wild. Certain diurnal species, of which birds and humans are, so animals that function within daylight and darkness. And the principle of the light cycle being, 12 on, 12 off, but during certain times of the year, obviously, we have shorter light cycles, and then we have longer light cycles. Now, an interesting fact is that canaries run very similar light cycles with regards to productivity and their breeding season to bees. So I guess that might be where the birds and the bees came into it all. But I read a PDF in a journal a little while ago, and it was doing a correlation between pollen productivity and the bird breeding season in a comparison, and it seemed that there were some very, very similar things. Now, for a canary hen to be in prime breeding condition, you want to have your daylight up to and or just over 13 hours a day. So that will really drive the hens into breeding condition. So for me, I break it down into stages of the year, and I just keep it really simple. In the off season, or when the birds need to go through the molt and they're in recovery, post-breeding season, I run 10 hours of artificial light. Now, my bird room faces the afternoon sun, and that initially was just so that I didn't disturb the neighbours too much. I don't want birds, up at the crack of dawn and the cockbirds really singing their heads off, especially when I've got, a dozen or so cocks in here. It can get quite loud. So purposely, my shed faces the afternoon sun, which means they don't kick off too early in the morning. So in the off season and the recovery period coming into the molt, 10 hours, and I just have the lights kick on at 7 a.m. and they turn off at 5 p.m. Now, once they're through that phase, I then bump the lights up, and for the entire off season, I run 11 hours of artificial light. So the lights go from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. And I just run that just as a standard, light, and the daylight, the sunlight might be lit up prior to the lights coming on, and it's still a little bit light when they kick off. And that just means you don't have to worry about dimmer switches and things like that. What I then do is I then start to tinker with the lights and gradually bring it up in 15-minute increments to the 13 and a half hours of daylight, which I'm going to have 13 and a half hours. I'm currently sitting at about 12 hours of daylight now, so I have an additional hour and a half that I've got to achieve over the next 6 weeks. And in 6 weeks, I will be in the last week or thereabouts, the last week of August, which is when I'm going to have all the birds in the breeding cages. I'm going to have the dividers in, and then from there, I'm hoping within about 2 to 3 weeks or thereabouts, so as soon as I get in that sort of first week of September, I'm going to start the birds mating. And that for me, I'm not sure what other timelines people are on. You might be a little bit behind that if you're down south, but up here in the tropics, I pretty much have to be done and finished by around about the first week of December. It just gets too hot. You would have seen in the earlier videos, I had one of these and I was sort of patting myself down and all sorts of stuff. I don't do that now because I don't need to, which is kind of cool. So that's where it's at. With the lights, I just do 10 hours in the recovery phase when they get finished breeding and they're in the molt. 11 hours stock standard for the rest of the off season, and then I bump it up to 12 hours of light and I work on 15 minutes of increments to bring it up to the date that I need to start. So if you're going to run lights, you can just backtrack. I want the birds ready by this date. I need to bring it up in little increments each week. You can't, I don't think it's good just to jump up in big chunks like if you're sitting at 11 hours and all of a sudden you go to 13, I can imagine it might put the birds into a little bit of shock. So that's what I don't do. But anyway, that's the topic of lights. To keep it pretty simple, that's what I do. And the proof will be in the pudding, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later on, about how I'm going to have a season prediction, and then during the season I'll do 2 updates, that being around I think I'm going to do a first round update, a second round update. Anything else will be a bonus, and then post season I want to do a review. So that's where I'm at. So normally, guys, I'd do a little bit of a chit chat and chirp section where I'd be doing things and be topping up seed toppers, doing waters, whatever else, but I've kind of already done all of that this morning, and the birds have had a bath, and so I don't really have much of that I can do in here, and I don't need to, which is good. Which leads me to a topic. I just did a little pan around the room, and I just wanted to show people that this is the state of my bird room, and I've been really fastidious and just chipping away at the maintenance, the cleaning routines, and just had everything really spot on. So I'm quite relaxed going into this next little phase, and it's a very important phase. I've got some cages down the bottom set up, which are going to be cages utilised for young birds, so some little nappy cages for the babies before I transition them then out into the aviary, because that's where all my young birds are going to go. They're going to go out into the aviary, and then I'll sort through them once I've finished up the breeding season. So I've got weaning cages down the bottom here. As far as just general maintenance, between the last session and now, which has been, it's been 8 or 2 months nearly, or 8-10 weeks, something like that, twice now I have pulled all of the cages out and I've pressure cleaned them. And that's the beauty of this setup. It's really easy to do that. I can do 9 cages, half the bird room. I put the birds in show cages, and then I take everything out, pressure clean it, bring it back in. It also gives me an opportunity to wipe all of the cabinet out. So I'm not playing catch up now where I've got to think about a serious deep clean. I've got to go through and just, actually sanitize everything. So I've stayed on top of it. Now I will do one more cleanup, and I will pull the cages out and do that again. And I'll probably do that in about another 2 weeks' time. And then the birds will be set. That's it, I'm not going to touch anything. In addition to that, as of last week, all of the birds have been medicated. So they've all had their medications. They don't need to have anything more other than calcium in their water and vitamin D. So they're the 2 supplements that I'm going to use. I've got a multivitamin and I've got a calcium supplement. I'm starting to increase that. In another week or so, I'm going to go calcium twice a week, and I'm just going to use the vitamin D and the multivitamin once a week. In addition to that, I've also got the breeding aid, which I've been using, the solution in the egg food. The birds are getting egg food twice a week now, greens every other day, and as you'll see in the video that I showcase where the birds are at, the hens out in the aviary are getting lovely feeds of lots of fresh food and lots of nutrients, so they're looking really, really good. And I'm just really stoked with the condition of the birds at the moment. I will say that most of the birds in the room that I got, and the birds that I got from Peter Southgate, they didn't breed last year. Peter was very generous in sending me birds pretty much during the breeding season, because I just had such a shocker that I was just over it. I wanted to change, and I wanted to get birds into the shed as early as possible. So he gave me birds. I made the decision that I wasn't going to breed them. I just wanted them just to get completely settled, and everything that I've spoken about in previous episodes, and I feel like that's where we're at. So we're in good shape, guys. Now, what's going to come in the future episodes? As I said, I'm going to do a pre-breeding prediction. You will notice in that episode that all the dividers will be in, all the birds will be set, ready to go in their pairs, and I'm going to talk about that. Then I'm going to do 2 little updates where I'll just sort of show you, hey, this is where we're at. Hopefully it's looking good. Round 1, round 2, and anything else is a bonus. And then I'm going to do a post-season, and we'll see how my predictions ended up, because I'm going to say I think I'm going to do very well with the dark birds this year. They just look to me red hot. and we'll see what else happens. What happens? So that's the no look. It all could go to shit. So we'll see where we're at. But as you can hear, the room's got a lot of vigor, and it's just I'm pumped. So can't wait. I'm back. I don't know when the episode will be up next, but sit tight and wait for that. And then really up until then, let's all enjoy and really treasure what the Canary Room's got in store for us. And it will be a very, very special send-off for Matt. I'll do something you would have noticed at the start of the episode, that I'm going to dedicate my breeding season to Matt in the Canary Room. You were the one that inspired me to get Fifes, so I see it's quite special in the final season, the 7th season of the Canary Room, and my first season. The Fifes are in here, and I hope, it's a little tribute to you, Matt, and everything that you've contributed to me, my birds, my family, and our friendship. Alright guys, as always, happy Fife, happy life, and I think I've got a whole shed of birds that are very happy at the moment, and they're looking really good. Take care, bye for now.